Hi, and welcome to this Tech Industry 101 webinar, From Hardware to Apps, What You Need to Know to Get in the Game. I'm Alice Egan of SaaS Savvy, your resource for breaking into and succeeding in the tech industry. What is the tech industry? This sounds like an obvious question, but now that I've asked, you might find yourself tripping over the very definition you have in your head. To be honest, at this point, it's not so black and white. In this video, we're going to unpack the question, what is the tech industry, and answer it by broadly talking about 5 sectors or verticals within tech and some tech companies out there and what they're making. Opportunity abounds in tech, and having a clear idea about different businesses in this space, what they do or make, and where they're headed will hopefully educate, inspire, and point you in the direction of your next career move or brilliant idea. To succeed in tech, you do not need to know how to code or to start your own startup. You just need to know enough to be dangerous. SaaS Savvy is a practical resource for bringing high tech back down to earth for motivated people in tech or looking to get into tech. SaaS Savvy helps you unpack the tech and the industry behind it all through accessible education designed to give you an insider's peek in and a leg up in succeeding in this fast-paced, forward-thinking industry. And as creator of SaaS Savvy, I see myself as a tech industry evangelist. I want to burst the bubble that surrounds the tech industry and help more people coming from diverse backgrounds or wild career paths succeed in their tech careers so that we can use it to propel forward ourselves, our families, and our communities. I originally put together this webinar series for the 2020 Your Future, Your Ambition annual STEAM event. YFYA are a London-based organization that aim to raise aspirations and encourage students from diverse backgrounds from ages 7 to 23 to consider careers within STEM or STEAM industries. Zendesk, the company that I currently work for, was amongst 30 plus sponsors this year, including GlaxoSmithKline, Amazon, the City of London Metropolitan Police, Visa, and more, who led webinars on everything from how contactless payments work, how drugs are developed, how to solve a forensic crime scene, and of course, what the tech industry is. Back to our age-old question, what is the tech industry? So as the world has evolved and technology has become more ubiquitous, from Wi-Fi to smartphones to even weed on demand, the very notion of what a tech company is becoming more and more blurred. And this leads to questions like, are all startups tech companies? What is a disruptor? Does WeWork count? If it's an app, does that just make it a tech company? And these are totally fair questions because maybe back in the 1980s or 90s pre-internet boom, it was easier to define a tech company as one that simply produced a piece or pieces of technology. But by now, in the 2020s, tech creep has infiltrated even the most traditional of spaces, from law to insurance to car parts. So where does it stop and where does it end, this tech industry? We know it goes beyond our idea of the romanticized garage-born Tinkerfest that grows into one of the world's first mega companies. Does having a super millennial chic, minimal aesthetic and human-centric design give a company a free pass under the umbrella of tech? Who are the people behind the scenes of companies like Facebook and Google, who for so many of us have almost always just been there, or at least for as long as we can remember? Well, there are tech companies sprouting up inside industries both new and old, from social media apps to the point of sale system used in your local corner store or bodega when you pay for something contactless with your credit card. And whether you are fluent in JavaScript or you'd rather just stick with coffee, there's a job in the tech industry out there for you. But as you approach your job search or your next career move, it's important to understand the landscape. What's actually out there in tech and who's building the what of the future? So we hear every day, tech is more ubiquitous than ever, tech is everywhere, but what is technology? I always like to get on the same page before delving into something. So according to the Oxford English Dictionary, technology, or tech, is the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes, especially in industry. Great, what does that mean? Well, one word that we often hear along with technology is invention. So tech is both inventive and innovative by nature, as it's improving on what currently exists or creating something never before seen to address a problem or issue. If we throw it way far back, the wheel, a relatively simple apparatus, completely revolutionized our ability to travel from one place to another well before Uber. And up there with the wheel, to name a few historically, are the harnessing of electricity, the steam engine, and in our lifetimes, the dawn of the internet. So let's throw a couple words out there and do a little free association. Motherboard, SaaS, food on demand, playing with friends, changing the world, disruption. What sorts of things are coming to mind? Mark Zuckerberg, your computer, an app on your phone? So as we free associate, we can start to bucket out different technologies into different verticals that are part of what's underneath this umbrella term, the tech industry. So in this video, we're going to delve into these 5 verticals: hardware, software, social media apps, tech-enabled services, and gaming, and talk about what they are, what you may not know about their ongoing evolution, and which companies are in the business. And yes, I know, as a disclaimer, there are tons of different kinds of companies in the tech industry, and there's a ton of overlap, but these are the 5 verticals we're going to concentrate on today and that you'll see pretty commonly in the tech industry. So without further ado, we will jump right in and start with hardware providers. Computer hardware are the physical components that a computer needs to function. These may be internal pieces of hardware like the core processing unit, the hard drive, all of that RAM that Chrome uses up. But there's also external hardware or peripherals that we use all the time, like a keyboard, a mouse, or a USB key. There's so much that goes into producing computer hardware, from electrical circuits to mineral mining to shipping and logistics and design. Think of something like a keyboard. What's it made of? What do you think that is inside of it that allows it to connect via Bluetooth to your computer? How are the keys arranged for the language that you type in, whether that's English or French or Arabic? Are you better on your computer keyboard or on the one on your phone? There are many people, ideas, companies, and moving parts in and behind the hardware that we use every day. The companies on this slide are some of the world's most famous builders of computer hardware. Intel is an American company that make the microprocessors, or the chips that allow your computer to run when you turn it on. And these Intel chips are found in computers like Apple, Dell, Lenovo, and HP. They're everywhere. LG is a Korean company who created Korea's first refrigerator in 1958 and now produce everything from smart washing machines to nanocell TVs to outdoor LED screens projecting your football or soccer games, depending on where you're watching this in the world. You may have heard of Oculus or Xbox, but they wouldn't have any graphics without a hardware company like NVIDIA. NVIDIA is an example of a hardware company whose tech is behind the scenes of a lot of your favorite video games. In 1999, they brought the Graphics Processing Unit, or GPU, a highly specialized parallel processing unit allowing for the acceleration of the rendering of 3D graphics to market. With this great power, video game developers were able to create more complex and, above all, realistic scenes and effects with advanced techniques for lighting and shadowing. So this took us from, Super Mario 64 to whatever people are playing today on, let's say, Fortnite. That same GPU technology quickly found an array of other utilities, and today, NVIDIA is known less for graphics and gaming and is increasingly known as the AI computing company. GPUs, it turns out, provide an extraordinary amount of computational capacity, and they've been harnessed to power deep learning and modern AI, ushering in the era of computing behind supercomputers, robots, and self-driving cars that can perceive and comprehend the world around them like never before. At this point, we've established that hardware components create what we know as a computer, and peripheral hardware lets us interact with the computer. But what powers everything that happens after a click or a command or a swipe? You got it, software. So we'll start by getting on the same page about what software is and then delving into what SaaS companies are. So software, simply put, is a program that instructs the computer to perform specific tasks. Everything that runs on a computer, from an operating system to a video game to a web application, can be defined as software. In the old days, you used to have to install all software to your computer. For example, in 1999, I used to beg my dad to take me to Staples so that I could buy the newest releases of The Sims on CD-ROM, which I would then install on my enormous Windows 95 desktop computer and promptly do a Rosebud cheat code for the millions of Sim dollars that I needed to create my own personal MTV Cribs, but I digress. The public cloud has changed that. Nowadays, using software is similar to the way a library lends its books to people. So just like at a library, a person is licensed to borrow software from a provider. The customer uses the software while they need it, they can renew it to keep using it, and then they can return it to the provider when they're done, just like the library book. Now, in the old days, in a business setting, all software used by a company had to be on-premise. This means that in order for a company to create a network, provide employees with services like email and applications, they had to buy upfront all of the servers, the hardware, the software, the networking tools, and then constantly manage it all. And when companies grew, they would quickly run out of server space, or they'd have to be constantly doing manual updates of software and having to buy more and more of all of these things in order to maintain their growth. This was not only a massive pain, but also an exorbitant and prohibitive cost that cut into a company's bottom line or even ability to form as a company. While there are still uses for on-premise software, the software as a service model is quickly becoming the status quo. So in this model, largely pioneered in the aughts, customers pay a monthly fee to a cloud provider who delivers computing services like infrastructure, servers, database, and more via the internet. This is very similar to how a utility company delivers electricity or heat to your home. Cloud providers like Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud have gigantic, efficient data centers located all across the world that are running and maintaining different software, and it's delivered to users via the internet. There's nothing up in the sky. The cloud is simply a collection of extremely scalable data centers located strategically across the globe in places like Frankfurt, Virginia, Beijing, and Cape Town. For an example of a classic SaaS company, I'm going to toot my own employer's horn a bit here. So at Zendesk, our customers license our software to support their customers and using their products and services, very commonly in customer support teams. So founded by three Danes in 2007, we're now a global, San Francisco-based public tech company serving more than 150,000 customers across hundreds of industries. If you've never heard of us, you've probably interacted with our products without knowing. We provide those little widgets that you use to chat with a support agent when you're trying to return clothing to your favorite brand. And we're behind their contact us page or even their support line IVR tree that you select through as you reach out to a customer support team. At this point, we've talked about hardware and software companies. If we define tech companies in the most classic definition as those producing computer-related technology, then these fit quite snugly. NVIDIA and Zendesk wouldn't exist if it weren't for the tech that they produce. But when we talk about tech companies and startups, you may hear the term disruptor thrown out a lot, as tech companies are often disrupting an existing space with a new tech-inspired spin on something. So this may pose you to ask the question, what about companies like Uber and Airbnb? Traditionally, they don't make or license hardware and software like Apple and Zendesk do, but we still think of them as tech companies. Tech-enabled businesses leverage, i.e. use to their advantage, existing tools and software to make a company more efficient, smarter, or to provide a new service. Uber, for example, found a way to use GPS technology developed in the 60s and combine it with a new platform, mobile computing, to revolutionize transportation worldwide. Airbnb enabled people to share their homes and find accommodation via a design-obsessed interface. There are often debates about whether Airbnb, Uber, and WeWork as examples are tech companies at all, or really just a slew of hotel, taxi, and real estate companies. But wherever you weigh in on that debate, tech-enabled businesses are not necessarily creating new technology, but they're leveraging tech like hardware and software to create something new. Deliveroo is the UK's answer to food on demand like Grubhub or Uber Eats, and it's a great example of a tech-enabled business. At the end of the day, Deliveroo provide a food delivery service, but without technology, they'd be unable to operate on demand. Their mobile app and tech stack allow customers to order online, check restaurant inventory, communicate with delivery crews, and more. And the data that they collect helps analyze customer requirements and helps the business reach and expand into new markets. Next up, gaming companies. Atari and their hit game Pong spawned arcade culture in the 1970s, with mega popular games like Pac-Man gobbling up nearly $3.5 billion in quarters. Restaurants and shopping malls started offering video games on site to customers, where a rudimentary form of Twitch emerged. For some, watching others play video games is highly entertaining, But with the dawn of the personal computer and advances in microprocessing technology, emerged these multiplayer games we know today that have pushed the limits of what real-time playing and hyper-realistic graphics really mean, thanks to companies like NVIDIA. Technology and gaming are completely intertwined. You can't have 3D graphics without a 3D graphics card or multiplayer games without parallel computing. Today, the gaming industry is looking past the limits of a console and investing in AI technology to power augmented reality like Pokemon Go, virtual reality as brought to you by Oculus, and motion control like Wii Sports. Where it gets really interesting is this future overlap or interweaving of motion control into augmented reality and virtual reality. Where will these lines between all that's virtual and reality be drawn? Unity's platform is behind apps downloaded 3 billion times in 2019 on more than 1.5 billion devices. Unity's platform provides a comprehensive set of software solutions to create, run, and monetize interactive, real-time 2D and 3D content for devices from mobile phones to AR and VR devices. But in recent years, Unity has expanded well beyond extremely famous video games that I have never heard of. Their platform is now being harnessed by artists, architects, city planners, and builders to collaborate in 3D to bring better films, buildings, airports, and cities to the rest of us. For example, animation designers can get around the need for the traditional linear production pipeline: layout, model, animate, shade, texture, render, and instead leverage Unity's real-time rendering to do it all on the fly. Skanska in Sweden is saving lives on construction sites through AR and VR-based training programs. And over in the automotive industry, nearly 95% of all of BMW's test miles on their line of autonomous vehicles are driven by virtual vehicles in virtual worlds. Unity's tech is lowering the barrier for creation and giving artists, developers, and engineers the power to efficiently create, collaborate, and do all this across industries. And to round out this webinar today, we'll end with social media companies. What is there to say about social media companies? In little more than a decade, the impact of social media has gone from being this entertaining extra to a fully integrated part of nearly every aspect of daily life for many. The impact of social media includes not just social networks like Facebook, but also forums like Reddit and video sharing platforms like Twitch, with virtual worlds and gaming becoming a major part of the sector as well. And as our world adjusts to the changes that social media has sown in our societies, whether we like it or not, Mark Zuckerberg predicts that the future is private, insinuating that we should expect to see companies and users trying to strike a more purposeful balance in years to come between awareness on public feeds and meaningful one-to-one time on private channels. So a relevant social media company we'll highlight today is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the world's largest professional network on the internet, and it is a place I personally love to hate for all of the hubris and humble brags. A fun fact is that LinkedIn, once known as MySpace for Adults, was the first to offer users paid premium packages, helping to bring in revenue in its early days, as opposed to giving everything away for free, but selling ads and using your data like Facebook's model. At a baseline, LinkedIn is a digital CV, but it's so much more. You can use LinkedIn to find the right job or internship, connect and network to make professional relationships, and learn skills that you need to succeed in your career. So where do you fit in? Whether you are Googling the song that you Shazammed after watching a TikTok dance on a friend's iPhone so that you can add it to your Spotify, or whether your doctor is using a new application to enhance your recent x-ray, or if you pay for your latte via contactless, funded by the recent sale of a few bits of cryptocurrency that you bought online, tech or tech-enabled companies are producing all kinds of products that will make our world a better place, or at the very least, keep us entertained and connected through a global pandemic. For tech companies, it's not just about building the hardware or the software that powers all of these kind of experiences. Tech companies need people to design it, let the world know about it, help people to use it, pay employees, process the invoices, keep customers coming back for more. There are so many people making up the backbone of any tech organization. This brings us to the end of our Tech Industry 101 webinar. I hope that you finished this video with a better grasp on the different technologies out there and what's being developed by different tech companies in these 5 different verticals that we delved into. So if you liked this content and you want more, like, subscribe, and follow SaaS Savvy, your resource for breaking into and navigating the tech industry. And above all, please comment and let us know, was this content helpful? What other questions do you have about tech or the tech industry that we can bring back in more video content for you? So thanks again so much for listening today, and we'll be back with more content on tech, the tech industry, and everything in between. Thanks so much. Bye.